Most people pack the obvious things: clothes, toiletries, something to wear at the pool. But the items that could be a hassle to find right when you need them the most, those are the ones you really don't want to forget.
After years of traveling both internationally and throughout the US, we've learned that it's the small, overlooked items that can really make the biggest difference.
So today we're sharing things that most people don't think about packing, but absolutely should.
Now, these things fall into three categories: there's comfort for arrival, comfort for the flight, and comfort for the stay.
Let's begin talking about comfort for arrival. If you've taken a long overnight flight, and especially if you don't speak the local language, you need to do what you can in advance to make sure things go smoothly. First off, it's especially helpful to carry a Visa or a MasterCard, and especially one that does not charge foreign currency conversion fees. Now, American Express is simply not as widely accepted as you'd want if you're an American Express card holder. That's just reality. When we arrived in Porto, Portugal, for example, I'd learned ahead of time that we could purchase our tickets in the station, in the airport train station, to take the street train into the city. Well, so we bypassed this long line at a ticket booth in the terminal, proudly walked all the way out to the station.
We were so proud of ourselves.
Yeah, because we knew what we were doing. And I go up to the little machine, and I put in for 2 tickets, and I tapped my American Express card, and it errored. And I went through the process again, did it again, it errored again.
And it didn't reject it. It
No,
just errored.
It just errored. It didn't say, hey, we don't take American Express. There was no signage there in English or Portuguese. And so it didn't say, hey, we only take Visa and MasterCard.
And they only had a handful of these turnstiles.
Right. And there was nobody out there. You know, you hear about how everybody overseas speaks English. Yeah, no.
And they didn't have a staffer there.
Right. So we were kind of on our own. And then, so I stepped back, and then other people were buying tickets, and I could see they were all using a Visa or MasterCard. And I'm like, well, let me just take one of those out and see if that works. And it did. And I found out later from friends who live there, it's like, well, yeah, American Express just isn't a thing here.
Right. So there's an awful lot for us to talk about credit cards and international travel. So we're actually going to make a separate video about that.
Yeah.
You should also try to carry some local currency. Check with your bank, as many banks will sell you foreign currency for no fee, and some banks will even deliver it to your house. Now, there have been many countries we've been to where you need a currency to pay for local transportation, and most of the small little restaurants and food places that locals go to don't take credit cards. And if we didn't have cash, we'd have to go to a credit card only restaurant, which are more geared towards tourists and are usually a lot more expensive.
Right. And if you've gone all the way, like to say Tokyo, which they pay cash there. Japan is not a big credit card country. So if you want to really enjoy the actual types of restaurants and things that you traveled halfway around the world for, you need local currency.
Same thing for these little markets. Like if you like street food like we do,
right,
you need cash.
Right. Wonderful cart in Buenos Aires, cash only. Right. And it was like the equivalent of $3 for these wonderful sandwiches, cash only, and only the local currency.
And little street places in Korea, cash only.
Right. Plus, when we were in Argentina, speaking of Argentina and speaking of cash, we could not find a single ATM that would work with our supposedly worldwide, ATM cards.
And that was in 2 separate cities.
Right. And we were going to major banks, like major local banks like Santander, which is all over much of the world. And their system just wouldn't work with our system. And we'd also been unable to get local currency before our trip because of Argentina's been having some fairly well publicized financial issues, and a lot of the banks just simply won't sell you their currency the way that they will sell you euros and yen and lots of other currencies.
And we even had trouble cashing checks and changing over in our hotel. They just didn't have the cash.
Right. We were able to finally get some money in our hotel, but it was only the equivalent of $50 US. Right. And we had to give them US currency. They wouldn't have taken our check.
Right.
I'm curious, have you been in a country where it was unusually difficult to get cash, besides Argentina, which we just talked about. We'd love to hear about it. Please share it in the comments. It might help other travelers as well as us.
Right. So it would really make a difference if you tell us your stories. But now let's talk about comfort for your flight. The first thing I want to talk about is compression socks. I know, they're not comfortable.
They're not.
And they're not sexy. But the thing is that it's a safety thing. And you need to wear them, especially once you're over 50.
Yeah, as you get older and our age and such, deep vein thrombosis gets to be a much more serious issue.
And it's a real thing. And you don't want to start your trip with a blood clot. You just don't.
You really don't.
Right. Now next, take an extra USB-A and USB-C cord with you, because you'll have one side to go into your phone and the other to go into a USB port, either in an airport, a hotel. We've seen them in ferry terminals. We've seen them all over.
And a lot of times they really don't work. We were in a ferry terminal in Uruguay, waiting to catch a ferry back to Argentina, and we and like half the people there were all trying to charge our phones, and they had these USB ports all over, plugs all over the terminal. Not one of them worked. The only things that worked were a handful of local just regular electric plugs, and we had converters, so we were able to use them. And most people were
right, and
not.
It was important. Now bring a cell phone charger and a cord as well, because the USB don't always work. And as Bill just kind of mentioned, and
and it's not just like overseas and such. It doesn't even. We've been in U.S. airports where it didn't work.
Right, and the thing is that we went on a trip recently, and I was playing with my cords, and I took the wrong cord with my cell phone charger. So I had the charger, but no cord to work with it. And make sure you have the right thing, because it can make a difference.
And we shared a charger for that trip, and we just took turns, but it really kind of like slows you down.
Right. Now, next, take earbuds with you, because you're going to need them if you're going to want to talk to somebody, watch YouTube videos like this one, or do whatever. But also, there are some airlines that have you plug in through your cell phone to their entertainment system.
And it's not, I mean, in the U.S., Southwest and American come to mind immediately as you mostly access their entertainment system through your cell phone and your earbuds.
And you don't want to be that guy on the plane who's listening on a speakerphone.
Right.
You just don't.
Right.
Next thing is pack a lightweight shawl. It serves as a blanket. It serves as a pillow if you need it. And if it's cold out, it's another layer to put on top of your jacket so that you're not just frozen. Next, and last thing I'm going to talk about, because I need to let Bill talk some, is Band-Aids. Really important.
Well, yeah, and that happened to me once, actually. I was on an airplane and accidentally cut my hand and was bleeding a bit. And the flight attendants, they were busy loading the plane. They were busy doing everything and anything other than helping the guy who was bleeding. Empty glasses case. So I wear glasses sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I always have them with me. And if I sleep on a plane, which I sometimes try to do, not so successfully sometimes, I put them in a case, and I have a hard shell case for just that purpose. If you put your glasses into the seat back pocket in front of you, someone squeezing through could easily just crush them, and it just takes a little bit to break some of these glasses. You don't want that to happen. Snacks and sucking candies, especially if you're on a long flight. Here's the reality. Do airplanes give you, or in some cases sell you, food on flights? Yeah, generally they do. Do they run out? Yes. Do they sometimes, if you pre-ordered a special meal that you really needed because you had either medical or religious or preference needs and you really just wanted a particular meal, sometimes that kind of doesn't happen. Sometimes it gets swapped out, someone else gets it, or it just never makes it on the plane. Have some snacks just in case.
Right. And the other thing is that there could be turbulence and things so that they're not delivering it. But more importantly, by the time you get to be our age, like a third of all Americans have diabetes. And you don't want to take a chance that your blood sugar is going to tank and that you're going to have a medical emergency because you don't have food with you or access to food. So just stick a snack in your personal item.
And finally, let's talk about things needed to provide comfort for your stay once you finally get to your destination.
So the first thing that I want to talk about is a foldable, reusable nylon grocery bag. So there are a lot of places where in the US and overseas where you just cannot get a bag, especially in Europe. They expect you to have your own bag. These bags are fold up into nothing and they're light, they don't weigh anything, and you can always have it with you and use it as a bag for things you purchase, or you can use it as a day bag. You can throw in, your hat, your sunblock, your water bottle, whatever you need for the day, and just carry it with you. There are some great ones out on the market. I'm putting a link to this, and actually all the products that we've been talking about will have links in the description for you.
And another that we highly recommend you get if you're going overseas, foreign plug adapters. I told the story earlier about being in that ferry terminal in Uruguay, and none of the USB ports plugs worked. Well, the plug wasn't a US plug. It was a local plug, but I had an adapter for it, and that's how I was able to charge. They're not expensive, particularly if you get them in advance. They can be very expensive if you're buying them in an airport or at the last, in some store at the last minute, in some tourist store. Absolutely worth having and
very often overlooked.
Yeah.
We also always carry a large binder clip. It's great to use both for a chip clip and for closing curtains. And we actually used ours on our last trip to Texas. We went to Buc-ee's, had a great time. We also brought home Buc-ee's treats with us, and we dug into them in our hotel room, and we bought a big bag. It was not a single serving size bag, and we didn't want to just keep eating them and turn it into a single size serving bag.
And they were pretty tasty. If all else failed, we might have turned it into a single serving bag.
Right, but we had a binder clip, so we were able to seal the bag and then finish them on a later date. Now, the other thing about having a binder clip is that you can use it to close curtains. And we stayed at a hotel that shared a parking lot with one of those big gyms. And they had one of those really bright lights in the parking lot that illuminated the whole parking lot.
Right.
So that if people came out of the gym at 11 o'clock at night, it wasn't dark.
And that's good for safety, but not so good if you're in the hotel next door trying to get some sleep.
And it's facing it, and our curtains didn't close all the way.
Right.
So there was that big line, that big vertical line of light that was coming through and going directly into our eyes as we're trying to go to sleep. But we had a binder clip. So I was able to get up and close the curtains with the binder clip. We were able to sleep and avoid the big light. So now, if you don't want to use your binder clip, or you're using your binder clip for chips and you still have the light coming in through your room, if you bring a sleep mask with you, you can use your sleep mask. And we learned that the hard way. We were given a beautiful upgrade in Stockholm, Sweden in June when the sun almost never sets and our room had a skylight right over the bed. And there was nothing to close it. Like, you couldn't curtain it off. You couldn't block the light.
And it was right over the bed.
Right. And there we were all night. There was, I think, 2 hours of darkness.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe, yeah.
So if we had had a sleep mask, we would have been in a much better position, and now we always carry one.
Right. And the same idea, earplugs. You never know when you're going to need them. You never know when you get a room overlooking a nightclub or there's going to be construction noise starting way too early in the morning. And so sleep masks and earplugs, they're teensy, they fit in anything, you don't even know you're carrying them until you need them. And then, boy, you're happy you have them.
Right. Now, Bill was talking about glasses before and how he brings a glasses case. In addition to that, I also always carry a spare pair of glasses/sunglasses. My glasses turn into sunglasses, but regardless, if you need glasses and you have glasses, you need to carry a spare on a trip, because if your glasses break, then you don't want to ruin your trip with that. And even if you use your last prescription as your spare pair, it'll only be a little bit off, and it'll work for the short period of time that you need it.
And one other thing, again, it's going to be tiny and it's going to fit and you won't even know it's there until you need it, is a small bar of soap. Yeah, everybody provides soap, until they don't. They may mean to provide soap, but the housekeeping might have forgotten, or it could be those dispensers that are getting to be more and more everywhere. And the dispenser could, be empty, or it could be broken and not work right and nobody noticed it, which, happens. And just bring a small bar of soap. You'll thank me later.
We cover everything that should go into your personal item in a separate video, and we put a link up to that video. Additionally, we have a worksheet that we're happy to send you that includes a sample packing list with our packing system. And we put information again in the description of how to get to ask us for a free copy of our sample packing list.
And if this video helped you, please like it and please subscribe to our channel for more travel strategies and hopefully some more good practical information for you.
Better living starts now.
See you next time.